change. So grab a couple of blocks, you've got them. And we're going to set up for a chest opener. So you're going to put one block this way and one block on its high end. And so the block that's going across is going to come right at kind of the bottom of your shoulder blades, and your head will rest on the other one, and your arms can come straight out. And so your hands can be facing up. How does it feel? And you must, sometimes you have to adjust. You kind of want it about where your bra strap would be. And if you have to adjust a pony.
Just below my shoulder blades type thing?
Well, kind of at the bottom edge of them. Yeah. So the bottom edge of the shoulder blades is down. Your knees can stay bent. You can also straighten the legs, or with knees bent, you can let the knees drop open with feet together. So take whichever leg position feels best for you today. And you can close your eyes once you feel comfortable and just let the shoulders fall back. And if you need to change your leg position as we go through, you can. And you can also put blocks under your knees and see how that works. So feet together and let your knees drop open. Does that feel better?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you need to close them halfway through or whenever, do so. And we're just going to spend a few breaths here, just connecting with your belly breath and allowing that opening of the front body. As we're busy gardening and working in our yard, we do a lot of kind of folding forward and rounding our shoulders forward, and then the chest can get very tight. And so this is a really nice way to start to allow some opening. Yeah, let your palms be up and just let your fingers just curl naturally and just connect with your breath here. And being mindful of the inhale and the exhale. Noticing the breath as it travels into the body, and noticing the breath as it travels out. And you can think of the inhale breath as bringing nourishment and new energy into the body, and the exhale releasing the day and letting go of whatever happened before this moment. And allowing a settling into your space. And begin to deepen your breath as you inhale and exhale through the nose. And you may begin to notice an opening of the front body. I'm going to take just a few more breaths here. And for these last 3 breaths, we're going to deepen the breath. So taking a really big inhale on your next breath, feeling the belly expand. Pause at the top of your breath, and then slowly release, let it go. And 2 more like that, inhaling. Pausing at the top of the breath, and then release, letting it all go. And 1 last one, your own pace. And then you can slowly bring your knees back to center. And you're just going to roll to your right, coming off of your props. Don't worry about your props. Just come into fetal position. And let yourself settle there for a couple of breaths. And class is done. So then you can clear your props off of your mat, and we're going to lie back down again. And we're going to start with some opening for shoulders first. So coming back into fetal position, extend your arms straight out in front of you, palms to stack, knees are bent. Oh, and you can have a block under your head here. Sorry, I forgot that part. And have the edge so that there's more block out behind your head than there is in front of your face. So with palms stacked, on an inhale, you're going to lift that left palm up and over to the other side and let your head roll on your block so that you come into a twist. And then take one more inhale in this position. And as you exhale, you're coming back to your starting position. So we're going to do that a few times and just get more of that chest opening. Using your inhale to open. Does it feel good? Yeah. And exhale, come back to start. And just letting the head roll and feeling that bit of massage on the back of the head. We're going to do 3 more breaths like that. Inhale, we open, let the head roll. And the exhale, we roll it back. 2 more. Breathing through the nose, through the whole movement. And last breath before we move to our second side. And then you can roll onto your back with knees bent. And you can take your block along with you. And adjust it for your head on your second side. So same thing, stack your palms. Use the inhale breath to open up, open the chest, and maybe look towards those right fingers. And the exhale, we come back to our starting position. 4 more breaths. Nice slow inhales, nice slow exhales. Linking the whole movement with the whole breath. And we've got 1 more breath, I think. And as you come back to your start, you can remove your block and roll onto your back. Knees are bent. And just pause here for a moment with the pelvis settling into your mat. And you could actually bring your palms to your hip points so that your fingers point into one another at center, and you can feel your hip points with the heel of your hand. And we're just going to do some pelvic tilts. So as you inhale, think about drawing the pubic bone towards your belly button, and you'll notice that your low back rounds and presses into your mat. And then as you exhale, curve the back in the other direction, so your tailbone presses down and your lower back lifts away from the mat, creating that curve. And I did that backwards. So we're going to exhale, press the low back down and curl the tailbone up. And then as you inhale, round the low back, press the tailbone back down, and you'll feel the hip points rocking back and forth as you move with your breath. So inhaling, we round the low back. The pubic bone goes towards the mat, as does the tailbone. And then as you exhale, the tailbone curls towards the belly button, as does the pubic bone. And the low back presses down. Just a few more rounds like that. So it's almost like we're doing a cat-cow, but the movement is very subtle because it's just happening in the low back. And just bringing some awareness to the low back, as well as the core muscles that help create that movement of the pelvis. So let's just do 1 more round. And then when you complete, you can just come back to a neutral spine and pause and just feel whatever it is you're feeling as you let your spine have that slight natural curve without pressing it down or excessively curving it. And then we're going to get into the hips a little bit. So let's bring the right ankle onto the left knee so that bony ankle bone comes right on top of the knee. And then press that right knee away from you. And then we're going to draw the left knee in towards the chest. So you might grab the back of your thigh or the front of your shin. And keep that right foot, the one that's on your knee, flexed so the toes are drawing towards the knee. And so you should feel an opening or a sensation in that right hip.
Oh,
Yeah. This can be really nice for sacrum issues, and low back issues, because there can be a lot of tension in the hips and in the sacrum. And this really releases that piriformis muscle, which acts like a sling between the hip and the sacrum. And it can get very tight. So we're going to stay here for a few breaths and actually really think about directing our inhales into that tension of the right hip. And as you exhale, imagine it releasing that tension. We had used an analogy last week of thinking of that tightness or that tension wherever it is in your body, to think of it as a tight little flower bud. And as you exhale, imagine that flower bud unfurling and releasing and opening. And that visualization can be really helpful in releasing pent-up energy in those tight spots. Let's have 2 more breaths on this side. And then if you want, after those 2 breaths, if you feel like rocking gently from side to side, it can sometimes feel nice for some of us. And then we're slowly going to release that left foot down to the mat. And as it touches down, uncross and release the right foot down to the mat. Take a breath in center. And then let's cross left ankle on right knee and flex that left foot. Press the left knee away. And then when you're ready, draw that right knee in. And again, either the back of the thigh or the front of the shin. And one side's always tighter than the other. Breathe into that tightly wound little flower bud and let it unfurl with your exhale. Smooth inhales, smooth exhales through the nose. And as we send the breath to the sensation, you might notice it beginning to release and soften and have a little less sensation. Let's have 2 more nice slow breaths here on this side. And then on your next exhale, release that left foot down to the mat. Uncross. Let the right sole of the foot touch down on the mat. Nice big inhale, slow exhale. And then let's draw right knee into the chest and give that shin a hug into your chest as you slowly extend the left leg straight. Coming into Apanasana. So the first couple breaths, we'll just let that thigh come into the belly, into the ribs. And as you inhale, you might notice your leg move slightly away. And as you exhale, you might be able to pull it in a little bit deeper. Inhale, feel that expansion. And exhale, make space and pull it in a little bit more. Let's do 1 more breath like that. And then take that knee And we're going to make circles with it. So let your hands do the work. So we're kind of making circles with the leg bone in the hip socket. And your circles might be really small, they might become really big. And then the left hand's going to come on that knee, and as that knee circles around, let it cross over your center line and come into a twist. Bring it all the way over to your left side and extend your right arm long. You can extend both arms, or you can keep that left hand on the outside of that knee. Again, getting into some mobility of the spine, maybe a little opening in the chest again, or the front of the shoulder. And then let's come back to center. Draw both knees in. Rock from side to side with both knees. Massage that low back. And then hold on to the left as you extend the right leg long. Same action with the breath. As you inhale, just let the breath release the knee a little bit away from the belly, and as you exhale, draw it in tighter, like you're helping the breath be completely expelled by the pressure of your thigh. Feel the expansion on the inhale, and pressing the breath out on the exhale. And just slight movement with the pressure of the breath. One more breath like that. And then we'll let the hands do the work of circling that leg bone in the hip socket. Getting a little bit of juiciness into the hip. I think I forgot to say this on the other side, but let's go the opposite direction, whatever direction you're going. I think we only went in one direction. And now your next time as that knee comes towards center line, right hand brings it all the way across into a twist. Extend that left arm long. One more breath here. And then you can slowly come back to center. Draw both knees in once again. And then extending the soles of the feet up to the sky. And extend both fingertips, straightening your arms up to the sky. So this is a pose called dead bug. And then we're just going to shake hands and feet. I think we might have done this in class before. I can't remember. We just shake. You don't remember this one? Okay. So we just shake, 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 shake. You might start to feel funny sensations in your hands and in your feet. And it really helps to move stuck energy. And then same position, but just stop the jiggling and just pause here for a moment and feel all the sensations of the fluids and the energy in the legs and the arms moving around. Let your eyes close and just tune into the sensation. And then slowly release everything down. Yeah, all the lymphatic fluid moving around. Go ahead and roll to either side and press yourself up to a seat. I almost feel like, okay, I'm done. That felt really good. Yes, it really does. We'll come into some more hip action and low back things as well. So we're going to come on to hands and knees next.
I find I have a really hard time trying to take that big belly breath. Just for years in swimming, it was a big chest breath.
A lot of us, and those of you who didn't hear, Susan was saying that it's really hard for her to do a belly breath, and I struggled with the same thing for a long time because it was years of holding in my belly. So that you didn't look like, and not because I'm a swimmer, but because you don't look like you got a fat belly. So a lot of us have a constant tension in our belly that we can't even release, which is really unhealthy. So it's good to practice. It's why we practice it at the beginning of class, every class, because many of us can't do it. So we're going to start with cat-cow. Again, just mobilizing the spine, opening the front of the spine as you inhale. And as you exhale, draw the navel center towards the spine and press the spine up to the sky, opening the back of the spine. Keeping the elbows straight through both movements, just oscillating between the two and concentrating the movement on the spine itself, letting the head drop as the neck is part of your spine. And let's do one more full inhale, full exhale breath. And then on your next exhale, we're going to shift into child's pose. And as you shift into child's pose, toes can be curled under or tops of the feet flat. See if you can bring your palms together. And think about lengthening. And you might notice that you feel a lengthening in the side body here with the hands in this position. And then use your next inhale to rise. Coming back into your tabletop, we're going to do a series of movements. I'm just looking where my candles are so I don't stick my foot in it. You're going to extend your left foot straight out to the side to start. Now, with that left foot in that position, let's do 3 rounds of cat-cow. And just notice how that changes it. And you might have a little less mobility than you did with both knees down, and that's okay. We're going to experiment with a few things with the leg in this position. And just notice how it feels different. And then come to a neutral tabletop when you've completed your last exhale. And left hand, awareness to the left hand. We're going to inhale that left hand up to the sky. And really rotate, maybe look up to the sky as much as you can. Feel that opening. And as we exhale, we're going to thread that hand underneath and send it out to the left, to the right as far as you can. Bring the side of your head and your ear down to the mat or a block if you're able. And just feel a sense of unwinding. It's like we have a spiral of fascia that spirals around our body. And so imagine an unwinding, like you're gardening your vines, your climbing beans, your scarlet runner beans, your morning glories, how they wind, and we're unwinding. On your next inhale breath, we rise up, reach up to the sky again, and then float that hand down. Keep your leg where it is. Awareness to the other hand this time. Inhale, right hand up. You'll notice you won't twist quite as much on this side, but as we exhale, we thread it through, reaching fingertips towards your toes. If you can grab your toes, great. You might even grab your ankle or your shin. And you can put just a little bit of pressure into the hand, and you may feel a little more opening in the upper back, that space between the shoulder blades and the back of the shoulders, especially if you're tight from the gardening work and the yard work that you've been doing. You might even feel this in through your right side body as well. Let's have one more breath here. And you can release. We're going to inhale, reach to the sky again. And exhale, float the hand down. Draw the knee in. And you can do a couple of rounds of cat-cow here with both knees underneath you before we move to our second side. I need to peel some clothes off and maybe turn the heat down. And when you've completed a couple rounds and your spine's feeling pretty good, we're going to extend right leg out. And do exactly the same moves as we just did with our left leg out. So we'll start with cat-cow, just regular cat-cow with the right leg extended. And notice how that might feel a little different in the hip, maybe a little different in the low back or the sacrum, depending where you're feeling a lot of tension. And then we'll start with the right hand. And you come to a neutral spine. So inhale, right hand up. And rotate open, looking up to the sky. And then the exhale breath, we thread it through and feel that unwinding, that spiral. Think of all the vines that you have growing or will have growing this summer. Feel that opening from the arch wrapping around your shin and your calf, crossing over your sacrum and coming up and across to the opposite side, across your back in a diagonal, and let it all unwind. Take one more breath here. And your next inhale, we rise up, you reach to the sky. And exhale, let that hand come down. And we move to the left hand, so inhale, left up. And exhale, reach towards your toes. Let the head and ear come down towards the mat. You can grab your toes or your ankle or your shin, or just have your hand on the floor, the back of your hand on the floor. And feel that opening in the upper back, the back of the shoulders. Side body on the left. Last breath here. And then we use our inhale breath to rise up, reach to the sky one last time, and let it go down. Bring the knee in. You can do a couple rounds of cat-cow in a neutral pelvis. And then let's extend left leg straight out behind. Straighten those knees. Right, straighten it out behind. And let's come back to the left again. You can float that leg up, or you can keep the toes down for extra stability. And see if you can extend right arm, so opposite leg arm. So this brings a little bit of core stability into play here. Stay lifted in that left shoulder so you're not sinking in the left shoulder. Take an inhale, really lengthen as much as you can from toes to fingertips. Exhale, create a rounding in the spine as knee and elbow move towards one another. We're going to do 2 more like this. Inhale to extend and lengthen. Exhale, draw it in. So again, it's like a play on the cat-cow that we've been doing. Last breath, inhale, extend, lengthen, and exhale, draw it in, and then release down at the end of your exhale. Let's do right side. We're almost off of our knees, I promise. So extend right leg, either keeping the toes down or floating the leg parallel to the floor. Extend left arm. Spending a couple breaths here, we draw the belly away from the floor. Stay lifted in that right shoulder. Inhale, lengthen. Use the exhale to curl in. 2 more. Inhale, extend. Exhale, curl it in. Lift away from the mat. Last one. Extend as you inhale. Draw it in as you exhale. And release. Let's curl the toes under. We're going to find downward facing dog. Lifting the knees, pressing the sit bones up to the sky, and press the top of your mat away. You can bend your knees here if you wish. Bring belly to the thighs. And then press the thighs up and back. Really think about lengthening the hips up off the waist as you press the top of the mat away from you. As you inhale, let's come forward to plank pose. Really lift it up through the shoulders. Lots of space between your shoulder blades. Take one more inhale. And as we exhale, you can lower your knees, or you can stay in high push-up as you lower all the way down. Let's bring our hands wide on your fingertips. Elbows are bent. Inhale, rise up into a cobra. Exhale, release. Extend through your toes. Let's do 2 more like that. Inhale, rise up. And exhale, float it down. Last one. Hands under the shoulders. We're going to press up and back, child's pose. Three breaths here. And you can rock the hips from side to side if that feels good for you. And then on your next inhale breath, we rise up into our tabletop and find your way into downward facing dog. And in our down dog, you can sway your hips from side to side here as well, and even point both toes to the right side of your mat. Feel a stretch in that right side body. Come back to center and point both toes to the left side of your mat, and bring a stretch into that left side body. Come back to center. Take one inhale breath here, and as we exhale, you can walk, you can step, you can float all the way to the top of your mat. Inhale, lengthen the heart forward, lengthen the spine. Hands can be on shins or on blocks. Exhale, bend your knees, press into the earth and rise up. Circle your arms wide and draw your hands in through your heart center. Take a moment in mountain pose just to ground down through your feet and be reminded of our connection to the earth that many of us have been working in and on for these last days or weeks. See if you could feel the texture of your mat without looking at it, just through the sensation of your feet. Our feet, which we generally ignore on a daily basis. And then we're going to go through some half sun salutations, just warming up and connecting with breath. As we inhale, circle the arms up. And as we exhale, folding forward. Inhale halfway. And exhale, bow, press into the earth, and we rise once again. So we're just going to do this half sun salutations a few times. Exhale, bow. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bow, bend the knees, press and rise. Circle the arms wide. Look up, lengthen, and exhale, bow. Last one. Lift halfway on an inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, bow, bend the knees, press the earth away as you rise and circle wide. And this time, draw your hands to your heart center. Now, if you want to use blocks, we're going to do some lunges. If you want to use blocks, you can bring blocks to the top of your mat. Get into those hips a little bit more as we inhale, reach to the sky. As we exhale, fold forward. Inhale, hands can come to your blocks or your shins. As we exhale, step right foot to the back of the mat, coming into our lunge. So pressing the front thigh down, the back thigh up. As you inhale, lift your heart slightly forward, look forward. And as we exhale, we move into reverse lunge. So you can lift those front toes, you might walk the blocks back a little bit. And you might have your spine parallel to the floor, or you might drape your torso over that front thigh. Let's inhale and come back to our starting position in our lunge. And we'll do this 2 more times. Exhale, reverse. Press into that front heel. Inhale to our lunge. Exhale, reverse. And inhale to our lunge, to our starting position. We're going to rotate to the long side of our mat. You can bring your blocks along with you if you're using your blocks. So now your feet are parallel and your toes are facing the long side of your mat. Inhale, lengthen your spine. And as you exhale, bend the right knee. Walk your hands over to the right corner of your mat. Inhale back to center, straighten the arms, straighten both legs. Lengthen the spine, exhale to the left, bending that left knee. One more time to each side. Inhaling center. Exhale to the right, maybe bending a little bit deeper. Inhale to center. Exhale to the left. Last one. And then rotating to the top of your mat. Your right hand can either be on a block or on the mat. We're going to twist to our left. So as we inhale, we're rotating to the left, maybe reaching the left arm up to the sky. Maybe gazing up to the sky, or maybe that left hand is just on your left hip. One more breath here. Take one more last inhale, and let the exhale bring the hand down. Let's step back, downward facing dog. Again, lengthen the spine, bend the knees as much as you need to. And then inhale forward to plank pose. Use your exhale to lower down. Extend the toes long. Reach through both feet. And let's inhale. Rise up into a cobra. Exhale, come down. Second one, let's bring the arms wide like we did for the first round. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, come down. Last one, bring your hands to intertwine over your bum. Roll the shoulders back. Extend through both legs. And then inhale, lift the head, lift the heart. Keep extending the knuckles back towards the toes. Take one more breath. Maybe your toes even float up. And exhale, release. Hands under your shoulders, press up and back, child's pose. Breathe into the back body. One more round of breath. And then we'll inhale our way up and find our way into downward facing dog. Let's float our left foot to the sky in three-legged dog. Just get a nice stretch and stay there for a full round of breath. And then use your next exhale to let it float down. Let's do the same to our right foot. Right leg floats up. Lengthen up as you press the top of the mat away from you. Stay for a full round of breath. And let it float down. Take an inhale, bend your knees, look between your hands, step, walk, or float to the top of your mat. Inhale, lift the heart halfway and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise as you press the earth away. And draw into your heart center. So we're going to do second side, either with your blocks or without blocks. I'm just moving to the other end so I don't have to have my butt to the camera. Let's inhale, reach to the sky. Exhale, bow. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step left foot back this time. So we're going to do the same oscillation between lunge and reverse lunge. So we inhale the heart forward. We exhale into reverse lunge, lifting the right toes, pressing into that right heel, and either spine parallel to the floor or draping over that front leg. Inhale back to your lunge. Exhale, reverse lunge. And last one, inhale, lunge. Exhale, reverse lunge. We'll inhale back to our starting position and then rotate to the long side of your mat once again. As you come to center, let your spine be long. And as you exhale, bend into the left knee. Walk your hands over to the left corner of your mat. Bend deep. Inhale to center and into the right. Letting yourself come as close to the earth as you can. One more time to each side. Exhale left. Inhale, lengthen at center. Exhale to the right. Rotate to the top of your mat, coming back into our lunge. We're planting left hand to move into our twist, either on your mat or on a block. And then begin to twist to your right. You might bring right hand to your hip, to your front thigh, or reach it to the sky. Stay lifted in that left shoulder, pressing the earth away. Nice breath here. Feel the belly button move towards the spine on the exhale. Take one more inhale. And let the exhale float the hand back down. Step back, downward facing dog. Let's come forward to plank pose. Use your exhale to lower down. We're going to come into Sphinx pose and do a little bit of core work, not too much. We don't want to wear out these tired gardening shoulders. But Sphinx pose is elbows are under shoulders and forearms are parallel. You can also bring your hands into a V and intertwine, but we're going to start with parallel. And then we're going to take an inhale in Sphinx. And as we exhale, navel comes towards the spine and we keep the knees down, but we lift the hips and look towards your belly button. Inhale slowly and gently, bring the pelvis back down to the mat into Sphinx. We're going to do this transition 2 more times. As we exhale, the gaze begins to move towards the belly button. Knees stay down, we lift away. Last one, slowly release into Sphinx. And exhale. And last, release into Sphinx. And then we're going to slide our arms long, coming into arrow pose. Palms come together, forehead touches down. Get long. Feel your belly breath as your belly presses into your mat. And as your belly presses into your mat, it fills the low back with breath. One last breath here. And then hands come under the shoulders. And press up and back, child's pose. Breathe into your back body here again. Your next inhale breath, you can rise and find your way into down dog. And then on your next inhale, float right leg to the sky, 3-legged dog. And as you exhale, draw that knee towards your nose, thigh towards your belly, and then press the floor away as much as you can. And step that foot up between your hands. Okay. Use that right hand to help it get there. And we're going to move right into, I was looking to see how close your blocks were, right into half moon pose. So we're just going to shift forward. Hand can come to a block or the mat on fingertips. And the back leg floats up and the hip opens to the left. So your left toes are pointing towards the left wall, whatever that is. Here, I'll bring the block a little closer to you. Yeah, there you go. So as you're making your way into your half moon, it's helpful to have that left hand down supporting you. You can play with bringing that left hand to your left hip. And you don't want to look at me while you're doing it. And maybe that left hand reaches to the sky. I'll come over here. Yeah, that gets into a lot of stuff, right? Yeah, you got it. You don't need me to show you what you're doing. I find it the best balance is if I stay looking at the earth. As soon as I start to look up, I lose my balance. But you can play with gaze if this feels pretty balanced. Take one last breath here. And you can release the left hand down. Left foot steps to the back of your mat. And step back into downward facing dog. Lengthen the spine, walk out your dog. Some of you online might want to take a vinyasa and meet us back in down dog. You can wag your tail, rocking your hips from side to side. And then we're going to go into our second side. So float the left foot up to the sky in three-legged dog. Get nice and long. And then as you exhale, knee comes towards your nose. And then lift up high on your back toes, thigh towards your belly, as far away from the floor as you can. And step that foot up, use the left hand to help it get up there. And then we're just going to shift forward, float the back leg up. Rotate the hip open to the right. Maybe your right hand comes to your hip. Maybe it reaches to the sky. And really fire up that floating leg and feel that sense of suspension. As that arm reaches up, we're sending energy in all 5 directions. Take one last breath. And then the right hand can come down. The right foot steps to the back of your mat. Both feet step back. Downward facing dog. Let's come down to child's pose. Again, some of you online might want to take a vinyasa and meet us in child's pose. And take any version of child's pose that feels good for you. Breathe into the back body. And then the next inhale breath, you can either transition, we're going to move into pigeon, so you can transition into pigeon from tabletop or from down dog, but we're going to start with the right leg. So if you're in down dog, you can float the right leg up to the sky again, three-legged dog, and then we're drawing the right knee to the right wrist and the ankle towards the opposite wrist. And then you can slide that back leg back. And sometimes it's a good idea to look back at that back foot and see if it's straight. Yours is. Mine often is not. And then lengthen your spine up. If you need to place a prop under that right hip, like a block or a blanket, do so. And you can get nice and long through the front body, finding some length in that back hip flexor. And then we walk it into sleeping pigeon. Find a place for your forehead. Can either be a block or stack your fists so that your forehead can rest, or maybe you can make it all the way down to the mat, whatever feels comfortable, but find breathable space. So this really gets into that hip. This is a little bit deeper variation than the one we did lying on our back at the beginning of class. That was a supine half pigeon. And so this brings a little more intensity to that hip. And if for any of you online it's too intense, you can go back onto your back into that figure 4 shape we did at the beginning of class. Use your breath to let that tension unfurl like we did at the beginning as well. Two more breaths here on the side. One more breath. When when you're ready, begin walking your way up. You can curl those back toes under as you step it back, or you might just transition to tabletop to get prepared for our second side. If you're in down dog, you can float that left leg up to the sky. And as you exhale, left knee towards left wrist and left ankle towards right wrist. Walk the back foot back. Feel a little opening in that hip flexor, lengthening through the spine, opening the front body. And then begin to walk it down, honoring that one side's always tighter than the other side, whichever variation that makes it be for you. Stacking fists, using blocks. And breathe into the tension and the sensation that you might be feeling.
(7:19 p.m.)
Oops. 2 more breaths here on this side. And when you've completed those last 2 breaths, you can slowly make your way up and back into either tabletop or downward facing dog. Stretching it out however you feel you need to stretch it out before we wind down. And then dropping to the knees, we're all going to meet in a seat. And we're going to do a seated twist before we lie down. And you can start with... Actually, no, we're going to do a forward fold before we go into our twist. So we're going to come into Janir Sirsasana. I'm going to turn this way so I'm going to have my back to you. So we'll start with left foot comes in as though you're coming into tree pose. So the left foot is in the inside of the thigh, right toes are flexed. And then inhaling a nice tall straight spine, you can even pull the flesh of the buttocks back. And then we begin to slowly make a forward fold. So we're looking to lift up and draw forward rather than curl the head towards the knee. So we're moving our heart towards our toes. And you can close your eyes because it doesn't matter how deep you get. Just go with the sensation of what you're feeling. You might feel this in your low back. You might feel it in that left hip or your right hamstring, or maybe you feel it in all of the above. Just breathe into it. Two more breaths on this side. Last breath. And then use your next inhale to slowly come up to a straight spine as you extend both legs straight out in front of you, maybe shaking it out. And then we'll move to our second side, so right foot comes into the inside of the left thigh. You draw the flesh of the buttocks back. Flex those left toes. And then slowly thinking of drawing up and over the thigh, drawing the heart towards your toes. Closing your eyes and just letting sensation allow the pose to unfold for you with your breath. 2 more breaths here. One last breath. And then slowly make your way back up to an upright position. Extend both legs in front of you. And I think we're just going to lie down on our back, and we'll do a spinal twist on our back rather than seated today. So go ahead and lie down and bend your knees, soles of the feet come to the mat, and just feel the weight of your pelvis settling down on your mat, settling down on earth. And feel that sensation of settling. Let your pelvis be heavy. Let your leg bones sink into your hip sockets. And now from here, we're going to move into a twist. Spread your arms wide. You can either have your feet wide on your mat or just have them hip width apart. Or you can even float your shins parallel to the floor. Taking an inhale in center, and as we exhale, let the knees drop over to your left side. Let your head roll opposite, looking towards your right hand. Notice the movement of the navel center. As you inhale, it expands. And as you exhale, it draws towards your spine and twists to the right in the same direction as your gaze. Take one more breath here. And then we'll bring the knees back to center. Pause and center, and we go over to the other side on an exhale. And let the gaze move opposite of your knees. And then bring your awareness to the navel center. Let's have 2 more breaths here. One more breath. And then use your next inhale to come back to center. Draw your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a hug. Rock from side to side. Massage the low back. And then we're going to come into Happy Baby as your last pose. So Happy Baby is different variations depending on your flexibility. Bending the knees towards the mat. You can grab the outside of your feet. I like to wrap around and grab the outside. And then you're drawing the knees towards earth, and the feet are parallel to the ceiling, and the legs are wide. And for some of you, it's just grabbing your ankles from the outside. Sometimes it feels really good for people to rock from side to side. If you don't have a really bony spine, that can feel good. It's just the last little hip opener before we move into our Shavasana. Actually, there is one more pose that I want to do. So when you feel like you've had enough of Happy Baby, you can release the soles of the feet to the mat with knees bent. And then extend your right leg up to the sky and bring your hands, intertwine your fingers behind your thigh. And now you're going to press your thigh into your hands and resist with your hands. And you can extend that left leg straight if you wish, or you can keep that knee bent. But this just kind of helps to reset the sacrum and the pelvis, that activation of pressing your thigh away and resisting with your hands. And then release. Draw both knees in and let's do second side. So extend left foot to the sky, extending right leg long down onto the floor, and then create that resistance as you press the thigh away and draw it in with your hands, resisting. And then release. Let the soles of both feet come to the mat. Feel that heaviness of the pelvis once again. And then moving into your final Shavasana, if you choose to extend your legs long, let them be wide. Take up space on your mat. And the same with your arms. Let your hands come slightly away from your side body so that you take up space. Using blankets, sweaters, socks, whatever you need to for your final Shavasana. And then we're going to do a little tension exercise. So with your hands at your sides, as you inhale, begin to curl your hands into fists and tense up your legs, your feet, your thighs, your belly, your chest. Scrunch up your face, pausing at the top of your inhale as you tense everything up. And then release everything on an exhale. And just feel that difference between tense and relaxed. We're going to do that 2 more times in case you missed it the first time. So as you inhale, begin to tense everything up. Scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. Pause at the top of your inhale breath. And then release, let everything go. And feel that difference. Last one. Inhaling, scrunching, scrunching, tensing, tensing. Sometimes our body needs to know the difference between tensing and relaxing. And then let it go with your breath. And now just let every exhale, let your body sink a little bit more into that state of relaxation. Every exhale, allowing the breath to be a little heavier. Allowing the body to release. Heels heavy. Back of the head heavy. Hips heavy. Belly soft. And imagine those thoughts that threaten to disturb your Shavasana to be like clouds passing through the blue sky of your mind. Just watching them come and watching them go without following along. And as those thoughts come into your sky, remember to let them float by. Softly and gently begin to bring your awareness to your breath as it flows in and out of your body. And then begin to deepen the breath, sending the breath into fingers and toes, bringing awareness and gentle movements into the body. And then 1 foot at a time, slowly bend one knee and then the other. Soles of the feet come to the mat. Pause here, let the hips settle, let the pelvis settle. And then gently roll to your right into fetal position. Let your right hand be a pillow under your head. Your left hand in front of your belly on the floor. Eyes still closed. Press your left hand into the floor and rise up to a seat. Let your head be heavy. Let it be the last thing that comes up as you find your seat. Let your eyes be closed. Spine be long. Take a moment to just settle into this new position. And tune into what you're feeling. Tune into that inner landscape. Perhaps feeling a little more openness, a little more peace. Oh, jeez. Maybe the breath moves a little more freely, and the spine feels a little longer and taller. And then come back into the mind and where it goes. And those clouds that come into your blue sky. And learning to let them float on by. Just 1 more minute here in stillness. Just your breath and stillness in this moment. And slowly bringing your hands to your heart center. Taking a deep inhale through your nose. Exhale out your mouth. And then eyes cast towards the earth. Let your eyes gently flutter open as you bring your awareness back into your space. Namaste.